You know, it's like everything else, I make a story of it, okay? And it was an incredible story. I was a teacher when I graduated from college, from Boston College, got my first teaching job in southern New Hampshire. I taught there for 7 years before I joined OD. I saw an article in a magazine for teaching abroad. And I thought at first it was like an exchange program or something. And I always just had a yearning to go to Europe, but on a teacher salary in New Hampshire, it just wasn't going to happen. So I clipped the article and I saved it for a while, and then I sent in a letter. I get back a package from the Department of Defense. And I had not, it didn't say, not that I recall, anything about Department of Defense on the ad. It was just about teaching abroad. So then I started to look into it, and I put an application in, and lo and behold, I got called for an interview. And I had to go to Hanscom Air Force Base in Bedford, Massachusetts. And there was a guy there who did the interview, and his name was Al Curious. And the interview went pretty well. So Irene and I talked, and then we just decided, we said, look, it's a 2-year offer, not a long time, and it gives us a chance to go to Europe, so let's try it, you know. So sure enough, I signed the papers and sent them back in. And the next thing you know, we were on our way after a long, processing thing to Europe. So when we arrived at Rhein-Main Air Base, which was the gateway to Europe at the time, and so we walked up to the desk, and I introduced myself, and he said, "Where are you going to?" And I said, "We're going to a place called Weilflecken." And everyone at the table was, "Oh my God, Weilflecken, that is at the end of the earth." So sure enough, a couple of teachers arrived to pick us up, took us to Wilflecken, which was a training area, right out 13 clicks from the East German border. And the rest was history. We had great resources other than the facility, and we had great teachers, and we had incredible kids there. So Weilflecken for us was a place that we absolutely fell in love. And it was an introduction to the military for us, because I had never had the honor of wearing the uniform, but in my family, I mean, all of my father and my uncles were all World War II era. They had all served, okay, but I hadn't. So I got to really see what the military was all about, what the moms and dads were doing in the military, and so I also learned a lot about military history from listening to the military people talk about the risk, because the risk there in the Fulda Gap, at the time, the outlook for people that were stationed there wasn't real promising. We didn't worry about it, but everybody was certainly aware of it. I wanted to stay in the classroom, but I had some encouragement to become a school administrator, so I became an assistant principal, and then I had pretty good success as a teacher and as a young administrator in getting some positive coverage for my school and working with the media, with the public affairs people, and at the installations I was at to kind of tell our story. And so a couple of the things that we had done had come to the attention of the public affairs officer at the region level, who was Noel Tillman at the time. So one day I was an assistant principal at Frankfort Middle School, and I answered the phone one night. It was about 4 o'clock, and he said, "Frank, this is Joe Blackstead." And I knew the name, but had never met him. Joe Blackstead was the director of Germany, our biggest region at the time. He said, "Listen," he said, my public information officer is leaving. He's going back to a school, and he said, so we're looking for people who might be able to fit the bill. And what I'm looking for is somebody who can stand up in front of commanders and stand up in front of parents and explain what we do in the classroom and what we do as a school system and how we help military families and kids. Is that something you could do?" And I said, "Yes, sir, I could do that." I served in Gelnhausen for 2 years, Büdingen as a assistant principal, and then I had a year at Frankfort Middle School. I had a wonderful superintendent there at the time, Frank Hill. He said, "You know what, I like what you're doing," and he said, "but you need some secondary experience, so I'm going to put you in a junior high school next year, or high school." And not would you like to go, I'm going to put you. So I had to go home and tell Irene, I think we're going to move, you know. I met Irene when I was in college. We say we had a supermarket romance. Okay, we worked in the same supermarket. Okay, and at every point in my life, she has really been the support and the energy that I've needed to accomplish all the things that I've been able to accomplish. You know, she, when we first came to Germany, she was trying to finish her own degree. She had been going to school at night. She finished her degree while we were there. But she was the person who helped me in everything. I mean, she became an incredible volunteer at all the schools throughout the year. She learned German. She's good with languages. Spoke German fluently, spoke Italian fluently. And we were just lucky because she raised an incredible daughter too. So they have been everything to me. We had trepidation going to Italy. Now my wife was Italian, okay? And we wanted to, we had been to Italy and liked it, but going to live in Italy was a whole different thing. But we did it, and I'll tell you what, I fell lock, stock, and barrel. We spent 9 years in Italy. Lo and behold, this job opens up at headquarters, okay? And we had to get orders and pack up, and the three of us then had to get out of there. And I remember it was like a 3-week just rush to everything to make it happen. It's been an incredible learning experience for me because I really, literally have worked at every level of the organization, from the school level to the district to the region level, and then of course now headquarters, and have had a variety of different jobs. Communications is one of the most important things that we do. It's on in every single goal, a strategic plan that we have. And so then we started a plan to how can we grow the communications effort into a 21st century operation that has the tools it takes to tell our story in the digital age. Because we were moving, the landscape was changing before my eyes when we came here. And so we started to add all of the functions that we have, and we grew to the organization that we are today. And so it's really positioned to be the best in the Defense Department, because we purposely went after the integration of all the tools to tell the story, when many military organizations and DoD organizations were still stovepiped into, here's public affairs, and then you go here for the web, and you go over here for the digital piece. We brought them together early because you can't tell the story without them today. And so that's what makes me most proud.